Oh my gosh, what's that?
What is that?
Joelle, what is that?
Orange chicken.
The Food Network feels like home, with warm kitchens, smiling chefs, and mouth-watering dishes. But peel back the curtain, and it's a mess of secret lawsuits, lies, and downright shocking behavior. One star was nearly cancelled for homophobic remarks. Another sued by her own staff for harassment. And that's just the appetizer. These scandals rocked the network's foundations, and some were buried so deep they were never meant to see the light of day. Until now. Let's dig in. Alton Brown's disturbing jokes. Alton Brown has always been known as the quirky, clever guy behind Good Eats. You know, the one who blends science with food and cracks a joke every few minutes. But in recent years, that funny guy image took a serious hit. Back in 2020, a food writer named Alison Robitelli pointed out something disturbing. In one of Brown's cookbooks, he expressed admiration for Jeff Smith, also known as the frugal gourmet. Now, Jeff Smith was a well-known face on PBS, but he also carried a dark cloud of serious assault allegations. Brown wrote, "I don't care what he does or did in his personal life," and people didn't take that lightly. Twitter lit up with backlash. But it didn't stop there. Folks dug up a blog post from a 2011 event in Iowa where Brown was giving a talk. While holding a cookbook featuring Southern recipes, he allegedly joked that some dishes might be foreign and exotic to the Iowa crowd, then pointed to a photo of a black man and said, "Look, a real live Negro." The room fell silent, and if that wasn't enough, he singled out a child with same-sex parents and quipped, "If that guy next to you is your other daddy, I'm in the wrong state." It wasn't funny, just offensive. And then, during the heat of the 2020 election, Brown tweeted a so-called joke asking if the uniforms in the camps would be striped like the ones at Auschwitz. Yes, that Auschwitz. The Holocaust. He later deleted it and apologized, but the damage was done. For a man who built his career on being smart, witty, and charming, Brown's string of offensive remarks left a sour taste that fans just couldn't ignore. Paula Deen's health crisis. When Paula Deen finally told the world she had type 2 diabetes, many fans weren't shocked. Her Southern recipes were loaded with butter, sugar, and fat. What did shock people was that she had been keeping it a secret for 3 full years. Even worse? She went public right after signing a deal with Novo Nordisk, the pharmaceutical company behind a substance. Suddenly, the Queen of Butter was also the face of a major diabetes medication campaign. Critics pounced. ABC News reported that many accused her of hypocrisy. For 3 years, she continued cooking up deep-fried everything while quietly managing her diagnosis in the background. She said she waited because she wanted to bring something to the table, meaning the illegal deal. People didn't see it that way. It felt like she was cashing in on an illness she'd hidden, while still promoting a lifestyle that may have helped cause it. Some fans were heartbroken. Others were angry. Fellow chefs had opinions too. Anthony Bourdain, never one to mince words, tweeted, "Thinking of getting into the leg-breaking business so I can profitably sell crutches later." The Food Network tried to stay neutral, claiming they had no idea she was sick, but the damage was done. Paula's wholesome image took a hit, and it wouldn't be the last time she stirred up controversy. And just when you think that's hard to top, we're only just getting started. There are more shocking truths to uncover. And let's just say, you won't believe who's next. Ina Garten refuses a dying child's wish twice. Ina Garten, the elegant host of Barefoot Contessa, usually comes across as warm and classy, serving roast chicken in her gorgeous East Hampton kitchen. But in 2011, a story came out that painted her in a very different light. A 6-year-old boy named Enzo Pereda was battling leukemia, Through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, he had just one dream: to meet Ina Garten. Not go to Disney, not meet a superhero, just cook with the lady he saw on TV. But according to his family, she turned him down. Twice. The reason? She was too busy. Enzo's mother wrote about the heartbreaking rejection on a blog, which quickly caught the attention of the media. People were stunned. How could someone who seemed so kind say no to a sick child twice? Facing backlash, Ina eventually reached out to invite Enzo onto her show. But by then, the damage had been done. His family politely declined. Enzo had moved on and decided to swim with dolphins instead. To many, this wasn't just a scheduling conflict, it was a test of character. And in the court of public opinion, Ina Garten failed. Mario Batali skimming tips. In 2010, celebrity chef Mario Batali found himself in hot water when over 100 of his former employees filed a class action lawsuit. The accusation? He had been skimming tips, keeping 4 to 5% of the gratuity money that should have gone directly to servers and waitstaff. This wasn't just a small error, it affected 117 workers across multiple restaurants. 2 years later, Batali settled the case for $5.25 million. The lawsuit covered employees from July 2004 through February 2012. That kind of settlement doesn't happen if there's no fire behind the smoke. Then, in 2017, things got worse. 4 women came forward accusing Batali of inappropriate touching, claims that reportedly stretched back 2 decades. Batali didn't try to deny it. In a public statement, he admitted, "That behavior was wrong. I take full responsibility and am deeply sorry." But instead of leaving it at that, he sent out a newsletter apology and ended it with a recipe for cinnamon rolls. Yes, really. Social media quickly renamed them apology rolls. Batali was fired from The Chew, and Food Network pulled the plug on his show Molto Mario, which they had planned to bring back. His career has never recovered. This next Food Network star got caught doing something no woman or man should have gotten away with: Burrell's disrespect toward female workers. Before she became a well-known face on Worst Cooks in America, Burrell worked in a trendy Italian spot in New York City called Centro Vinoteca. The restaurant was in the heart of the West Village, and for a while it seemed like everything was going well. But in the year 2009, a group of women who worked there came forward with serious accusations that would cast a long shadow on Burrell's career. They claimed that working under Burrell wasn't just difficult, it was toxic. The woman said she made nasty comments about their bodies, especially their cleavage, and constantly gossiped about their private lives. One woman said she dreaded going to work because of the crude jokes and mean-spirited remarks. Another claimed she was fired not long after standing up for herself. It wasn't just name-calling. They said they felt humiliated, unsafe, and disrespected in a place that should have been professional. The lawsuit never went to trial. It ended quietly with a confidential settlement, and Burrell never issued a public statement about it. She neither admitted to any wrongdoing nor apologized. Years later, watching her on TV coaching amateur chefs with a smile can feel unsettling. Viewers who know the backstory often wonder, is the person we see on screen the real Burrell? And speaking of real, the next scandal will leave you questioning whether anything you hear on Food Network is true at all. Robert Irvine's fake resume. When Dinner, Impossible hit TV screens, Robert Irvine came across as the real deal. A no-nonsense British chef with a jaw-dropping resume. He claimed he'd cooked for 4 U.S. presidents, helped make Princess Diana's wedding cake, and was even knighted in England. Impressive, right? Well, in the year 2008, it all came crashing down. A reporter from the St. Petersburg Times dug into his background and exposed a shocking truth. Most of his credentials were wildly exaggerated or flat-out made up. Irvine lost his show. His reputation took a serious beating, and the public was stunned. The Food Network tried to do damage control, replacing him with Michael Symon. But in a surprising twist, Irvine eventually apologized and was quietly welcomed back. Today, he's back on the air like nothing happened, but that giant resume lie still lingers. And if you think that was messy, wait until you hear how one beloved chef's harmful substance use was exposed in open court. Guy Fieri's homophobic remarks. Guy Fieri is known for being larger than life. With his bleached blonde hair, loud shirts, and wild energy, he brought diners, drive-ins, and dives into millions of homes. To fans, he seemed like the fun uncle who loved burgers and barbecue. But in 2011, serious allegations came out that painted a very different picture. David Page, the creator and original producer of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, claimed that Fieri made openly homophobic remarks while filming. One time, after visiting a restaurant owned by a gay couple, Fieri reportedly called Page in a panic and said, "You can't send me to talk to gay people without warning. Those people weird me out." It didn't stop there. Page alleged that after that incident, producers were instructed to flag any potential signs of homosexuality before shoots so Fieri could be prepared. If true, it meant someone at the top of Food Network's lineup might be quietly discriminating behind the scenes, and that was hard for fans to accept. Fieri never addressed the claims publicly. He stayed silent, and so did the network. The story eventually faded from the spotlight. But for many in the LGBTQ community, it was a painful reminder that even TV's nicest guys might be hiding ugly truths. And speaking of ugly truths, the next scandal happened right on air and left a bitter taste in viewers' mouths. Nigella Lawson's harmful substance abuse. Nigella Lawson was the face of elegance in the kitchen. She wasn't just cooking, she was telling a story. Her shows made food feel sensual, classy, and effortless. But in 2013, her world was rocked by a scandal that revealed a very different side of her life. It all started with her ex-husband, wealthy art dealer Charles Saatchi, who accused the couple's assistants, Francesca and Elisabetta Grillo, of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. But during the trial, the Grillo sisters flipped the script. They said Nigella permitted them to spend the money, as long as they kept quiet about her harmful substance use. They claimed Nigella used harmful substance regularly and also relied on prescription pills. Suddenly, Lawson was on the stand, defending herself not just against theft allegations, but against accusations of being a secret addict. She admitted to using harmful substance twice, once during a troubled time in her marriage, and again during a stressful period. But she denied being addicted or dependent. Even though the assistants were acquitted, it was Nigella's image that took the biggest hit. The glamorous TV chef was now being portrayed in headlines as a woman battling secrets and personal pain. It was a shocking fall from grace. Ree Drummond's racist recipe. Ree Drummond, also known as the Pioneer Woman, has become one of Food Network's most wholesome stars. With her Oklahoma charm and bright smile, she's built an empire around simple cooking and family values. But during an early episode from Season 2 of her show, she made a joke that stirred up real outrage. In the scene, Drummond revealed she was serving Asian-style hot wings to her family and friends. Their reaction? Confused and disgusted faces. Her husband and guests teased, "Where's the real ones?" and "I don't trust 'em." Instead of defending the dish, Drummond laughed along and said, "I'm just kidding, guys. I wouldn't do that to you." She then brought out American buffalo wings, treating the Asian wings like some sort of joke. Asian American viewers didn't laugh. A blog called Thick Dumpling Skin blasted the episode, asking why Asian cuisine was being mocked, especially by someone who wasn't Asian. The moment felt dismissive, like Asian food didn't belong at the table. Others pointed out that it wasn't the first time non-Asian chefs were celebrated for cooking Asian dishes, only to mock them afterward. In 2017, Eater called for the episode to be pulled. But Food Network stayed silent. No apology, no acknowledgement. The clip quietly lived on, leaving a sour aftertaste. Bobby Flay quits Iron Chef. Live TV is never short on surprises, but what Bobby Flay did in Iron Chef Showdown back in 2017 left even the producers stunned. Right in the middle of a heated competition, Flay took off his chef's coat to reveal a bold shirt underneath that read, "This is my last Iron Chef battle ever." No one, not the crew, not the contestants, not even the higher-ups, knew he was going to pull that stunt. Vanity Fair reported that the scene behind the cameras was pure chaos. The show was live, so editing out the moment wouldn't be easy. When producers scrambled to confront Flay, he coolly replied, "I know. That's the point." But Flay's exit was just the beginning. The next scandal took a turn for the financial. Geoffrey Zakarian sued into bankruptcy. Geoffrey Zakarian, who always came across as the polished, bow-tie-wearing gentleman of the Food Network world, was quietly fighting a messy legal battle behind the scenes. In 2011, things got so bad he had to file for bankruptcy. What happened? Former employees of his now-closed restaurant country hit him with a class-action lawsuit. They claimed he cheated them out of overtime pay, falsified records, and even deducted money from their paychecks for meals they never got. And it didn't stop there. His own business partners turned against him, siding with the employees. According to the New York Times, they even filed documents backing up the workers' claims and went further, accusing Zakarian of using the restaurant's money to cover personal expenses. Zakarian denied all of it, but fighting the lawsuit in court was expensive, and he didn't have the funds to keep it going. So, with legal costs mounting, he declared bankruptcy. It was a far fall for someone viewers associated with class and refinement. The same man judging young chefs on Chopped was now at the center of a labor scandal, and the Food Network didn't say much about it either way. Zakarian kept his spot on TV, but the story never really went away. People still talk about how quickly someone can go from culinary royalty to financial ruin. And speaking of things spiraling quickly, wait until you hear what happened to Michael Symon on the beach. Michael Symon's beach day backfired fast. In 2014, Michael Symon joined a beach volleyball tournament in South Beach to raise money for the Armed Forces Foundation. It was part of the annual South Beach Wine and Food Festival, and it all seemed like harmless fun. Chefs, athletes, and even swimsuit models showed up to support a good cause. But when a single photo from the event hit social media, it sparked a mini firestorm. Symon posted a snapshot of himself with model Chrissy Teigen sitting on his lap. Now, it wasn't scandalous in the traditional sense, no kissing, no cuddling, but it rubbed a lot of fans the wrong way. His wife, Liz, wasn't in the picture, and for many, that was enough. People flooded his Facebook page with comments. Some accused him of being inappropriate. Others jumped to his defense, saying it was just a picture at a public event. But the online arguments spiraled out of control fast. Symon eventually stepped in, posting a calm but pointed message. "Wow, some PPL have too chill a bit. In South Beach for wine and food event, doing a photo shoot. Liz is with me, and Chrissy is a friend." That cooled things down for the most part. Symon moved on, but the moment showed how even a split-second photo can ignite a scandal in today's world. Paula Deen's racial slur. In the summer of 2013, the world found out something many suspected but never wanted confirmed. Paula Deen had used the N-word. And no, it wasn't just something pulled out of thin air. It came up during a lawsuit filed by a former manager at one of her restaurants, where claims of a hostile and discriminatory workplace were front and center. Once the story broke, Deen's sugary sweet public image crumbled almost overnight. She went on TV, cried, and begged for forgiveness, telling the world, "I beg for your forgiveness." But her apology felt more like a PR move than real remorse, especially after her company released a statement saying she came from a different era. They pointed out she was born in the South more than 60 years ago, back when segregation was the norm and people still had separate bathrooms, restaurants, and bus seats. But that explanation didn't soften the blow. Endorsement deals vanished. Her cookbooks were pulled from the shelves. Television appearances were canceled left and right. Once seen as a warm Southern cook with a heart of gold, Paula Deen became a walking cautionary tale overnight. Giada de Laurentiis rumored cheating. Giada de Laurentiis seemed to have it all. A hit show, a beautiful family, and that warm, charming smile. But in 2014, everything changed when she announced she and her husband, Todd Thompson, were calling it quits after 11 years of marriage. The official reason was irreconcilable differences. But the rumors? They told a different story. Almost immediately, gossip columns began whispering about secret flings. Names like Matt Lauer, John Mayer, and even Bobby Flay were thrown around. Giada firmly denied all of it. The rumors about Mayer had popped up as early as 2010. But when her divorce lined up almost perfectly with Bobby Flay's split from actress Stephanie March, the whispers only grew louder. She told the media, "Bobby and I are very good friends, but I'm smarter than that." Even so, the tabloids wouldn't let go. The scandal followed her from talk shows to interviews. Everyone wanted to know, did Giada cheat? Was Bobby more than a friend? Eventually, talk show host Meredith Vieira asked how she made it through the media storm. Giada's answer was honest and a little heartbreaking. "I realized I fell in love with cooking because it makes me feel strong. It's where I can stand on my own 2 feet." She got back to doing what she loved. But the scandal left a mark. For a while, she wasn't just a chef. She was a headline. Sandra Lee's questionable Kwanzaa cake. If you've ever felt secondhand embarrassment from a cooking show, you probably remember the time Sandra Lee made what she called a Kwanzaa cake. It aired back in 2009 and has been haunting the internet ever since. At first glance, it was just a cake, store-bought angel food, canned apple pie filling in the middle, topped with ready-made frosting. But then things took a strange turn. Sandra decorated it with pumpkin seeds and corn nuts, which she kept calling acorns. She added red, green, and black candles, saying it was to celebrate Kwanzaa. The problem? Kwanzaa is a deeply meaningful cultural holiday for many African American families. And Sandra's cake wasn't just off. It was so wildly inaccurate it felt disrespectful. Critics didn't hold back. The AV Club said it looked like a pile of ridiculousness slathered in despair. And Anthony Bourdain, never one to sugarcoat things, went as far as calling it a war crime on television. The real sting came when Salon asked a respected food historian, Jessica Harris, what she thought. Harris, who has spent her career studying African and Caribbean cuisines, flat out said it was made by someone who had no idea what they were doing. Sandra never apologized. The clip lives on, shared and laughed at, for all the wrong reasons. But for many, it wasn't just bad cooking. It was an insult wrapped in frosting. And speaking of kitchen disasters, the next one didn't come from a recipe. It came from the staff room. Graham Elliot sued by employees. Behind the polished image of chefs in clean white jackets and glitzy food competitions, real restaurant kitchens are often chaotic places, and sometimes downright unfair. That's what happened at Graham Elliot's Chicago restaurant. Graham, a familiar face from Iron Chef and MasterChef, found himself in hot water when 13 of his former employees took him to court in 2012. The lawsuit started with one former waiter, Gregory Curtis, who said that the restaurant's tipping policy was out of line. According to Curtis, the staff was forced to pool their tips. But instead of dividing the money among fellow waiters and hosts, the people who actually earned those tips, it was split with food runners and even kitchen cooks. And here's the problem. Under federal law, tip sharing only works if it stays among employees who regularly get tips. Cooks and back-of-house staff aren't usually part of that group. Eventually, more employees joined in, sharing similar complaints. 13 in total. Graham Elliot chose not to fight it out in court. He settled the case quietly, with the final amount never made public. Though the scandal didn't destroy his career, it sure put a stain on his reputation. Because when your brand is built on fairness, teamwork, and passion for food, being accused of shortchanging your team can leave a bitter taste that doesn't go away. Paul Hollywood's affair. Paul Hollywood. Now, that's a name you've likely heard if you enjoy British baking shows. He's the silver-haired, blue-eyed judge from the Great British Bake Off, known for giving out that rare Hollywood handshake. But back in 2013, Paul wasn't just handing out praise. He was caught up in a very real scandal that had nothing to do with cookies or cakes. That year, he was flown over to the United States to co-host the American baking competition, alongside chef Marcela Valladolid. You might recognize her from Mexican Made Easy or The Kitchen. On screen, they looked like a professional duo. Off-screen, however, they got a little too close. What started as a flirty friendship quickly turned into a full-blown affair. And just like that, the dough hit the fan. Paul's wife of 15 years, Alexandra, filed for divorce. Marcela's marriage also ended. It wasn't just personal lives that took a hit. Marcela's TV appearances dwindled, and she quietly faded from the spotlight for a while. Paul, on the other hand, somehow walked away with his career intact. He returned to Britain and resumed his role on Bake Off, as if nothing had happened. He even picked up new shows along the way. Some called it a simple love affair. Others called it hypocrisy, especially when both had family values attached to their public image. Either way, it left a sour aftertaste and made people wonder what else might be happening behind the scenes of their favorite food shows. Allegedly, tainted dog food. Rachael Ray is one of those Food Network stars who seems impossible not to like. She's bubbly, she's relatable, and she loves animals, especially dogs. That's why it made perfect sense when she launched her own pet food brand called Nutrish. It was supposed to be full of natural ingredients and made with love. She even said she fed it to her own dog, Isabu. But then, in 2018, things took a nasty turn. A $5 million lawsuit was filed, claiming that Nutrish contained a chemical called glyphosate. That's the same stuff used in weed killers like Roundup. Not exactly what you want in your dog's dinner bowl. Now, Rachael herself wasn't named in the suit, and she stood by her product, saying she still gave it to her pup every day. But the lawsuit opened up a floodgate of concerns. Pet owners started digging into the ingredients. Old complaints about the food causing upset stomachs and allergic reactions resurfaced. Even more troubling, the company had already been hit with product recalls before. PetSmart, one of Nutrish's biggest sellers, didn't drop the brand, but they did say they'd keep a close eye on things moving forward. The lawsuit was eventually tossed out, but the damage had already been done. Rachel's reputation as a dog lover took a hit, and many customers started wondering if natural really meant what the label said. And while Rachel kept her empire afloat, another Food Network couple was quietly falling apart, while pretending everything was just fine on camera. The Neelys, cooking up a show and a lie. For a long time, Down Home with the Neelys was one of the most beloved shows on the Food Network. Pat and Gina Neely seemed like the perfect Southern couple, laughing, cooking, and flirting their way through fried chicken and ribs like they were still in their honeymoon phase. But here's the twist. That whole loving act? It wasn't real. Gina Neely revealed the truth in a 2018 interview with People magazine. She said the marriage had already been on the rocks before they even started filming. In fact, she had planned to leave Pat before the show came along. But when Food Network offered them a series, she thought maybe, just maybe, it would help. Or at least distract her for a while. Instead, it made things worse. They had to act like they were in love every single day, on national television, when behind the scenes, they were growing further apart. After 20 years of marriage, Gina finally walked out in 2014. She said she didn't even tell Pat directly. Her lawyers handled it. The crazy part about it was, I never wanted to do that show, she admitted. I never wanted to live my life quite out loud like that. While Pat was heartbroken at first, he later remarried and started a new family. Gina went on a reality dating show in Italy, looking for a second chance at love. Meanwhile, reruns of Down Home with the Neelys still air, like a picture-perfect postcard from a marriage that, in truth, had already fallen apart. Jamie Oliver's cultural appropriation. Jamie Oliver, once known as the Naked Chef, never stripped for the camera, so no scandal there. But more recently, he sparked outrage after releasing a product called Punchy Jerk Rice, supposedly inspired by traditional Jamaican cooking. The problem? Oliver isn't Jamaican. The recipe wasn't authentically Jamaican, and jerk rice isn't even a real thing. Jerk is a spice rub used for meat, not rice. Critics were loud. A Jamaican chef claimed he had taught Oliver how to make real jerk chicken. British MP Dawn Butler, daughter of Jamaican immigrants, called it cultural appropriation. Oliver tried to explain it away, saying he simply meant to honor the flavors. But for many in the Jamaican community, that just made him the real jerk. What are your thoughts about these scandals? Share with us in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to our channel. For a more thrilling video, check out the next video that pops up on your screen.